Warning, this video may contain content that may not be suitable for children or anyone else that is easily offended. Strong language, graphic content, nudity, bad jokes, and a possible idiot, aka myself, may be featured in the following clip. Viewer discretion is advised. Channel is not responsible for any damages that you receive watching this video. Hey, what's up, y'all? It's Zems, and welcome back to another week of reaction videos. This week, the first up, we have 3 disturbing creatures seen in Colorado. This video is by Darkness Prevails. Wolfie28's been drilling me to react to this channel, so I'm going to check it out, man. Hopefully you guys enjoyed it. If you haven't already, be sure you swoop down to the description box, click on the link, and go watch the video to the entirety while I'm pausing and stopping and talking through the whole thing. AKA Detective Zems, AKA Red Flag Master, AKA the man that solves every case known to mankind, AKA Zem Holmes. Okay, but for now, let's get it.
Following story contains graphic depictions of dead animals.
Ooh.
What I experienced on the Colorado back road from Make 33. This story took place a few months back. I was 17 at the time. During the Rona outbreak, I was very limited to where I could and could not go.
I hate the Rona. It's ruining all my plans.
Although there were strict rules set in place by my parents, I seldom acknowledged what they asked of me to begin with. Looking back, I realized how irresponsible I was, and I chalk it up to my immaturity. Since I've turned 18, I've made the best effort to put my childlike tendencies behind me and start behaving like a mature young adult. Regardless, this story took place a while before I turned 18.
It took me a while to grow up. I'm not even playing around. I was immature until at least I was like 23, 24. So it took me a minute. I mean, I still joke around here and there, but I was super immature, bruh. That's crazy.
Though the incident happened a few months back, it continues to replay in my head and appears as fresh as ever to this day.
Over and over
I don't
again.
think I'll ever completely know what happened that night.
Over and over again.
Beginning my story, it was around 1 in the morning. Just like the rest of the states, Colorado was dealing with Rona, and no one was really allowed to mingle with others at this point in time. Regardless, I really didn't have anyone to mingle with. I was homeschooled, after all, living in an isolated spot. I wouldn't have it any other way either. I enjoy spending time alone, contemplating life and its meaning.
Is the water running backwards?
I have a close group of friends I've remained in contact with throughout Rona, and those are the friends that have been with me for a long time. I consider them family. I missed the amount of time we'd spend together, as a group and individually. I especially recall our love of hiking and exploration, the sense that there is stuff out there, good and bad. We all felt like it was our job to find it, record it, and remember it. At one point in life, the memories you keep will once again remind you of the golden days of your life.
That's true, man. The golden days, man. I wish I had a picture of the time I ripped my pants in middle school. These kids was chasing me, and I hopped the gate, but my pants got caught on the back of the gate, and my pants ripped, right? So when my pants ripped, I'm walking to class, and people walking past me, and they're laughing, looking back at me. What is everybody laughing at? My friend comes up, his name was Devontae at the time, rest in peace. He comes up to me, he's like, you know your pants are ripped? I'm like, no, it's not. I reached my hand back to check. From my hamstring up to my ass cheek was ripped. Even my underwear was ripped. So my butt cheek was hanging out, and I walked at least from the cafeteria through the little fun yard where the basketball courts and stuff was, all the way to my classroom with my ass cheek hanging out, and nobody said nothing. That's the kind of society we live in, people, and that's why I say every video, you can't trust people.
We figured it might be best to get as many memories and experiences as possible, but I never anticipated something as bizarre as this to happen. Additionally, although my friends weren't with me because of the lockdowns, I've made sure they were fully aware of every specific detail as to what happened. I was extremely bored during these times and resorted to taking my mind off of boredom by going for drives. I would usually spend 2 to 3 hours a day driving around aimlessly, exploring back roads and stopping every so often on trails to hike.
Red flag.
Eventually, I discovered the exhilaration of sneaking out at night to go for a drive. I realized night drives, while being the perfect way to relax and think about life, also had the potential adrenaline rush to them. The idea of sneaking out without your parents finding out, I guess. Until this one night drive, I never realized how incredibly dangerous they could be. I would sometimes see deer jump into the road, and that would scare me crapless.
It scared me in Germany. I ended up hitting one, actually. Dang, this story making me remember my stories. I hit a deer on the way to kennel care, and I kid you not, I had just got that car a month ago. And sure enough, I was driving my own business, and a deer came out. Wow, I was like, my car. Oh. And the deer have the nerves to get up, look at me, and then run off, bruh. Ain't that something? I didn't even get his insurance number or nothing, bruh. He took off. He was hit and run.
The way they could take anyone by surprise is crazy. The way your heart beats when it comes out of nowhere. The imminent feeling of uncertainty to what it actually is before you completely analyze it, and the dread that follows. It makes you go 10 times slower in fear that you'll accidentally hit a deer and total your car.
Facts.
It was no issue to me though. My car was pretty old and given to me by my parents.
Mine wasn't.
I didn't think much of it then, but that car was on its last legs. Since then, I've bought a new car to avoid the same problem that occurred that night. Sometime after my parents had gone to bed, I got up. I left through the back door and got into my car. Tonight was like any other night, completely normal. Nothing could have prepared me for what I was about to experience. I got onto a recently discovered back road I found a few days back. It took me about 30 minutes to get there, and I made sure to fill up my gas tank, so I would have no difficulty getting back home without a problem. I eventually came to a long stretch of road that was densely forested on either side of the road.
Here we go.
I felt so at peace, knowing that no other cars usually traveled this way, due to the lack of any evident road maintenance.
Red flag.
No houses or trails were on this couple-mile stretch, which was just fine. Being one with the silent night, the sound of crickets with the fresh air coming from my open window, and no light apart from the beams of my car, it was all very peaceful. I was cruising at a 30-mile-an-hour pace to avoid any big bumps in the roads. A few minutes into keeping this pace, I glanced off to the left side of the road, and I saw a faint outline of some sort of figure.
Well, good thing he wasn't hitting no dips or potholes in Los Angeles, boy. Them roads right there turn your car into a damn tech deck, bruh. For sure, for sure. You hit a speed bump, boy. Your tire coming off or something, bro. Your engine about to fall out. You hit one of those speed bumps in California.
I brushed it off as being some animal and drove to about 40 miles an hour. It didn't feel quite right though. Something kept bothering me, and I realized how far set its eyes had been off the ground. They had reflected my headlight beams at an almost impossible height.
Siren
to be
head.
the eyes of any animal I knew of. My stomach was in a knot, and out of curiosity I looked in the rearview mirror. Whatever it was had walked onto the road.
Run it over.
I saw the faint outline of the figure, but I wasn't completely sure if it was four-legged or two, and that's when I heard it.
You said it
The
walked
most
out.
unnatural sound I've ever heard in my life. The purest form of dread washed over me as I put two and two together.
What was it?
I connected the uncanny sound with the creature that had just made its way onto the road. The sound this creature made was a shriek. It made it multiple times, and it was impossibly loud.
I wouldn't have been there for that long. Yeah, nah, hell no. You give me one siren and I'm out, bruh. Reverse.
My best attempt to describe it would be to compare it to the sound that metal makes when scraping against metal, except 1,000 times more chilling. It was as if it wanted my attention. My heart began to pound. I slowed the car down to a halt. It stood there yards behind me,
Whose man's
eyes
this?
reflecting the moon. As scared as I was, I became even more desperate in finding out what this thing was. It stood in the same position, eyes not moving. I sat there for a moment. It suddenly made the same shrieking noise, except even more aggressively this time.
Yeah, bruh, get out of there.
That's when I drove off. I redlined the car, and as I did, I dreaded the idea of my car breaking down.
How many warnings do you need?
Thankfully, it didn't. However, as I began to drive off, whatever it was appeared to head back into the forest. After a few minutes of driving, I was intent on making it back to civilization. What I remembered, I think I had another 8 miles to go, give or
Damn.
take, before getting onto a main road. I was driving at 50 miles an hour now, and paid no attention to any bumps in the road. My sole focus was getting the heck out of Dodge. After a few minutes of driving, I heard the shriek again.
It's flying right over him.
Distant, but it sent a shiver down my spine nonetheless.
wonder what it was.
I kept driving, and I began to approach something on the road.
Uh-oh.
Whatever it was in a heap. Then I saw it was a deer.
Oh.
At first, I thought it was dead, but then I realized it was twitching as I slowed down to avoid running it over. It was in the middle of the road, so I had to drive to the side.
That creature got it.
As my car approached it, I saw that its ribcage had been torn open and spread apart. Its innards spilled about on the road. This wasn't roadkill. Something had mauled it. As I drove onto the shoulder, I got caught in a ditch. For a split second, I thought I was screwed. Thankfully, my tires caught onto the pavement once again, and I was in the clear. Just a moment after getting past that deer, something ran onto the road. I'm not sure what it was, but I knew it was two-legged, based on the way it ran.
It was the same thing. I was like, from earlier, bro. You just seen a mysterious creature. You drive down the road back where you came from. You see a deer with his rib cage torn out, and you see something with 2 legs run across. What else could it be, bro? Batman's not out there. Bear Grylls is not out there, bro. Like, who else is gonna be, man? It's the damn bird creature robot thingy that's out there. I don't know, maybe just sometimes, man, if you're bored, just be bored. Sometimes you don't have to do anything at all. Like, maybe if you be bored and you go looking for something, you're going to find it, whether it's positive, negative, or just plain out creepy or disturbing. You're going to find it, especially my people that's in Colorado out there, man. You have not 1 but 3 disturbing creatures, and we haven't even know what this one looks like yet. It got roadrunner legs apparently, so it's probably running back and forth, talking about some meat and running back and forth, killing everything in the wood line, man. I can't, bro. Take a gun with you. I don't care where it is, bro. Just take something, a stick, a ruler, tape a knife to the end of the stick. Just take something, man. Bubble gum, I don't care.
I wasn't yet far enough away to be unable to distinguish how this creature looked. I got a glimpse of it in my mirror. It was a very tall, lanky figure. I saw its eyes wide open, yet there appeared to be no mouth. It shrieked once again.
Kevin Durant?
That's when its mouth opened. A hole of darkness emerged, so big, I was stunned.
A hole in his mouth emerged. He got that
It
glizzinator.
cocked its head back and went into a seizure-like motion. That's when I lost sight of it, unsure of what to even think at that moment. I made it back home around 6 in the morning. I drove a bit more among the common roads, just contemplating life and about what the heck I'd experienced.
Almost death.
I drove there a day later during noon with my dad, not saying a word about the whole incident. I asked if he wanted to go for a drive and discuss family matters with me. I used that as an excuse to have company while I went to drive by the road where I saw the deer.
Why would you go back?
We passed it, or at least what was left of it. The head was gone. The neck was ripped apart as we passed it, and I felt even more disturbed.
He was hungry.
My dad appeared to be seriously concerned, but chalked it up to some wild animal. I never told him or anyone else about what I saw that night. The day I drove that road with my dad at noon was the last time I went on it since. I've since then cut back on the driving I do during the day, and I've never gone out at night again.
There we go. That's how it's done.
Thinking about what happened gives me goosebumps and makes me tear up. Sometimes I question my own sanity, but that deer symbolizes the truth behind what the heck happened that night, and serves as a dreadful reminder of the reality of the situation, and of what could have happened to me if my car remained in that ditch or had broken down. I count myself lucky, and I've started to realize that sometimes the bad overtakes the good.
So my thing is, he was worried about being stuck in the ditch, but at the same time, you sat there and watched the creature for a good 5 minutes. It shrieked, looked at you, came out of the forest, stood in the road, and you was still... And then it shrieked again, then you decided to leave. You thought the ditch was the problem. Bro, he could have been got you if he wanted to. I guess he was just trying to get you out of there because he didn't want to eat you, or you're just in his territory. I think if he would have drove up a little bit more, he probably would have got clapped. And he took his dad with him too. That's a no-no. What if it came out, waiting for him again because he knew he was going to come back and they jumped?
I think we saw a skinwalker.
A skinwalker? From
Mrs. Paunchy John.
Is that something from KFC?
I'm 24 years old and a big believer in monsters. I'm part Cherokee, Choctaw, Shawnee, and Chickasaw.
I'm kind of Cherokee too.
My grandma always taught us about skinwalkers, shapeshifters, and wendigos.
Oh, I know what those are.
So last year I was on a trip to Denver, Colorado with my friends Joe, whose part Washoe and Lakota, and Frankie, whose part Cheyenne and Seminole, along with my dogs Lou, a red-bone coonhound, and Mr. Bluebody, a blue tick coonhound.
Mr. Blue Body.
We finally get to Colorado after hours of driving. We're driving down a dirt road when my dogs needed to use the bathroom. Hey Joe, pull over. Lou and Mr. Blue Body have to water the lily.
Have to water
Joe
the
pulled
lily.
over and we all got out. While my dogs are using the bathroom, I feel as if we're being watched. Then my dogs start growling.
Water the lily.
We all look towards where my dogs are growling, and we see this pony looking at us.
Is it My Little Pony?
A pony. Now, to a random person, it would appear to be a regular pony, and at first, that's what it looked like.
It's not a unicorn.
Until we saw that its legs were too long for a pony. I heard Frankie ask, Polna, do you see that? Yeah, I see it.
Is it Matador?
I told my dogs to come, and we all got back in the car. As soon as I looked outside my window, I screamed. Standing in the spot where the pony had been was a tall, dark figure. We all said in unison, Skinwalker. We all began to pray, while my dogs huddled together. After the prayer, what we heard next scared us so much, it mimicked my grandma's voice. We heard, "Don't be scared, it's all right."
Yo, that's that Call of Duty
Joe
zombie.
sped down the road faster than I ever saw him drive before. We decided to just go home, but we took a different highway out of Colorado.
Max ammo.
We haven't spoken of it since. I decided to share this story, and I'm thankful my grandma taught me about monsters.
Let me know down in the comment section if you guys believe in skinwalkers. I've heard a lot of more people say something about wendigos or wendigos, whatever you want to call them, have them like shape-shifting and like mimicking people's voices and stuff like that. But I never really heard of skinwalkers. I've heard of Skinwalker Ranch though. I've heard about that. I need to watch that, I believe.
Frozen in Fear. From Sandy. I live in New Mexico near the Colorado border.
New Mexico?
Close to the San Juan Mountains, which is a part of the Rockies. I used to camp every year until 7 years ago.
Yeah, camping is
in a
dope.
place called Williams Creek, Pagosa Springs, Colorado. It's a beautiful area with mountains, a lake, some waterfalls, hiking trails, and an old country store. I was recently divorced and wanted to get away from everything and everyone for a few days. So I packed my hiking gear, camping supplies, and a sidearm, which I always take with me as I'm a small female, and there are a lot of big animals in that area.
She's a goat.
Pagosa Springs is a small mountainous town with their claim to fame being the deepest hot springs in the world, and resorts that welcome locals, skiers, mountain bikers, vacationers, and anyone that likes the outdoors. It truly is an outdoorsy person's paradise. They host several events throughout the year. That includes car shows, hot air ballooning, and music festivals. The camping and hunting in the area is second to none. But then again, I'm a bit biased. Having lived in this area since I was 14, I made sure to go in July, as the area is a bit warmer, and most of the snow is gone in the areas I like to hike to. I've hiked this area many times and have been to a lot of the trails that lead to fields of the most beautiful wildflowers you will ever lay eyes on.
Wildflowers.
In the fall, the aspen trees splash the mountains with colors of gold, orange, and red in anticipation of the long, cold winters that Colorado is infamous for. It was truly my most favorite place to go and just chill out away from people, to just soak in the serenity. Williams Creek is both amazing and gorgeous, but anxiety-invoking if you do not like seclusion.
I don't like being
The campground is almost always full, but the trails can be very desolate, especially the one that caused me to be here, writing this story.
I can't be in a I mean, if there's people nearby, then maybe. But if I'm just out there by myself, that's a no. That's a red flag for me. I can't be somewhere where if I scream for help, nobody can hear me. But at the same time, she got a weapon with her, so I mean, we're taking better steps as the stories get go on. We're on number 3, so this story's getting pretty good. She got her weapon on her, so it's gonna turn out pretty good, I think.
I made camp and settled into my tent for the night. I had checked the weather several times before leaving Pagosa Springs proper. Cell service in Williams Creek can be spotty at best. I was planning on waking at 0400 and heading out to the top of Williams Creek, past the lake and onto Williams Creek Trail,
That's too early.
which is about 15 miles long and takes a good part of the day to hike, if not 2 days, as weather often moves in very fast and traps hikers that have to seek shelter away from flash hailstorms, lightning, and local
You
monsoons.
think that's cool?
Well, I ended up oversleeping and got a late start. I grabbed my gear in such a hurry that I forgot my camera and my phone,
There
which
it is.
sucked. because I was planning on taking a lot of pictures that day of the hike and scenery. It took me about 20 minutes to drive to the trailhead and sign in on a sheet provided by the Forestry Service. This helps locate hikers should they become missing. It has a place for your name and destination, as well as days anticipated for your hike and the time you got started. I signed in at 8:17 and started down the trail, across the field, towards the tree line. The hike is treacherous, even for the most seasoned hiker. The trail starts out innocently enough, but quickly turns into an almost vertical trail, with switchbacks and a lot of debris from horses and weather.
I don't know.
A lot of folks take rented horses on the trail.
What's a switchback?
I was excited to be out in nature and needed to relax, unwind. It took me about 4 hours to get to the bottom where there's 2 clearings separated by a thin group of pine trees and scrub oak.
Hell no.
There's a small stream that runs through the trees that has some amazing fishing. As I made my way to the group of trees, I took note of a few clouds moving in and the wind picking up. I spent about 2 hours fishing, untangling my line, sorting through flies, and cleaning my catch. I made lunch right by the stream, and that's when I noticed I'd forgotten my camera and phone. A little disappointed in myself, I cleaned my supplies, packed up, and grabbed my pack.
She's gonna get her phone back and it's gonna be like OnlyFans accounts of grizzly bears and wolves and stuff like that.
Giving one last glance at the area, taking mental pictures for my journal. Then I left the Serenity behind. One glance at my watch told me I better start heading back. As I made my way to the group of trees, I felt the first drop of rain hit my face.
Here we go.
In seconds, it was a downpour of rain and hail. I grabbed my rain jacket and found shelter under a group of scrub oak. I sat in my shelter waiting for a small break in the rain, just enough so that I would not be pounded with hail and get soaked to the bone.
Yeah, hell hurt.
But my wait was in vain. About 45 minutes into the storm, I had a sudden urge to get the heck out of there.
Remember I told you guys when you get that instinct that it's time to go? This is what I'm talking about. He said he got an urge of just dreading you to go. Get out of there as fast as you can, no matter where you are. I don't care if you're waiting in line to get a McDouble or you got Chick-fil-A or you have Chipotle, wherever it is, your favorite restaurant, man. And you get a bad feeling, get out of there.
Looking back, there was not one particular event that caused the feeling. I just felt the need to go. I grabbed my pack, zipped my jacket all the way up, and headed out of the trees into the valley. About halfway across the field, I felt horribly exposed, but I was happy to see the rain subsiding. I stopped to admire the view and check my watch again. Realizing it would be dark by the time I got back to my truck, I decided to pick up the pace. I reached for my pack and straight away noticed it was dead silent.
Grab the gun.
No dripping rain, no animals, no crickets.
Gun.
Dead silent.
Gun now.
Throwing the pack over one shoulder, I picked up the pace and had just about made it to the bottom of the ascending part of the trail when movement, out of the corner of my eye, caused me to stop. Coming towards me at full speed was a mountain lion.
Oh.
I froze. I wanted to run, but I knew better. In my hunting classes, they had told us to stand your ground and make as much noise as possible. I couldn't think. I couldn't run. All I could do was stand there and wait for my bloody end. The cat came within about 40 yards from me, before veering off to the right and heading towards the fence line that stretches across the base of the mountain. As the cat disappeared, I turned to resume my pace and stopped dead in my tracks again. I was thinking, what could have caused that cat to run like that? And it's a question I wished to this day I had never asked.
Well, you have to find
As if
out.
on cue and reading my thoughts, just outside the tree line of the very group of trees I'd taken shelter under was a creature that was about 7 to 7.5 feet tall.
Bigfoot.
It had the body of a man, the legs of a deer, and the face was a mess of teeth, hair, and grotesque wrinkled skin,
The dude
the
from
color of a rotting corpse.
The Narnia dude?
I froze where I stood. My feet felt as if they had been cemented to the earth, and I could not form one rational thought. I forgot I had a gun, but I couldn't even lift my arm to check the time. Several minutes had to pass because my next memory was the cat standing in the tree line. Safely on the other side, it let out a scream that sounded like an animal being murdered. I snapped out of my trance and realized it was time to make haste.
There we go.
I dropped my pack and ran as fast as I could to clear the rest of that field. At the bottom of the mountain, There's a fence you must climb over to get to the trail. I jumped over the fence and kept on running, never looking back because I was so scared that thing would be right behind me.
This is the mindset you guys have to have. Please take notes of this young lady right here. Weapon, she read her first mind, and she's trying to get out of there. She's seen what it was. She's not trying to be a part of it, and she's leaving. This is what I'll have. I mean, she probably can't avoid it now, but this is what I try to tell you guys in each episode, man. When it's time to go, it's time to go.
I was crying and screaming for help. About halfway up the mountain, and at dusk, I ran into 4 guys on horses that had just turned back to start toward their trucks.
Lucky.
I told them that I'd gotten caught in the storm and had lost my pack. I didn't mention what I saw. I didn't want them to think I was crazy. 2 of the men headed down the mountain, while the other 2 put me on a horse and took me to my truck. I wanted to tell them so badly what I'd seen, but I was scared that somehow my mind had made it up, and it didn't really happen.
Yeah.
A couple of hours later, I was safe in my truck, and that's where I slept that night. As soon as dawn broke, I tore camp down, packed up, and met the guys at the little country store to retrieve my pack. As I thanked the men for going to get my pack, they stated that they nearly didn't make it there because they kept hearing howling and noises in the bushes all the way down the mountain. Their horses had refused to go any further, and if they hadn't found my pack when they did, I would have lost it forever. I thanked them and got in my truck. As I was backing out of the dirt lot, one of the men approached the window and made a gesture to roll it down. I did as he asked. He told me that they'd seen some strange things on their ride to get my pack, and told me to never hike the area alone. I asked him what they saw. He just shook his head and reiterated for me to never hike that trail alone.
Ah.
I missed that area, but what I saw that evening will haunt my dreams for the rest of my life.
I'm going to end it right here, guys. If you enjoyed this content, make sure you like, comment, and on the subscribe button to be part of Murder Crows today. Again, if no one told you today, I love you. Let me know down in the comment section, man, if you enjoyed this video, man. This video was by Darkness Prevails. There's 3 disturbing creatures seen in Colorado. Make sure you go over and show some support if you did like it. If not, that's cool as well. We'll keep moving forward. Only thing I would like to see is him change the slides a little bit more, or maybe like some pictures or whatnot to kind of like get you into the scenario or the environment that he's talking about. But other than that, it wasn't too bad. It was cool. I thought he was going to show something because in the beginning he said warning, there's going to be some graphic content of animals or something like that. So I guess he meant of him talking about it, not the actual pictures. But again, Wolfie, thank you so much for that. Let me know down in the comment section which story you thought was the scariest. I'll probably say I'll have to go with story number 1. Story number 2 was kind of short and sweet, but it was also kind of scary because number 2 kind of like give you a little brief explanation behind what the skinwalker is and the capabilities that they have. And they're in Colorado, so for those of you that are in Colorado, let me know if you ever ran into one of these. If not, if it's called a cap, then make sure you put a cap down in the comment section. But again, thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you guys next time. Hit that like button, hit the subscribe button, support your boy. Road to 5,000, and it's almost there, but 2K is even closer.